Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining me here. Now let's get right into the men behind the Heritage Foundation. Yes, tonight we're going to talk about the three key founders. Let's start with Paul Weyreich. I'm not sure if it's Weyreich or Weyreich, but October 7th, 1942 to December 18th, 2008. He was a United States religious conservative, and that's just another form of the Christian right, the religious right, predominantly white conservative evangelical Protestants and Roman Catholics with political roots dating back to the 1940s. Um, Political activist and the New Right associated commentator. The New Right is a term for various right-wing political groups and policies during different periods of time. The second, New Right opposed abortion, the LGBTQIA plus equal rights amendments, the Panama Canal Treaty, affirmative action, and most taxes. Most notably, he's a co-founder of the Heritage Foundation, but he also co-founded the Free Congress Foundation, the American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC, the Moral Majority, which was founded in 1979 with Jerry Falwell, and he's also credited with coining the phrase moral majority before it became the Political Action Group. His father, Ignatius A. Weyreich, was a German immigrant. In 1960, he graduated from St. Catherine's High School in Racine, Wisconsin. He attended the University of Wisconsin in Racine for 2 years. From 1961 to 1963, he was active within the Racine County Young Republicans. And for those not familiar, the Young Republicans, formerly known as Young Republican National Federation, or YRNF, was founded April 23rd, 1931. It's a 527 organization. It features Republican members between the ages of 18 to 40. It is social and political in nature. It sponsors networking and social events for its members, and it assists with Republican political candidates and causes. And it was founded by George H. Olmsted at the behest of Herbert Hoover. Did with the 1964 presidential campaign of Barry Goldwater. He assisted with the 1964 campaign of Barry Goldwater. Regarding his career in journalism, for the Milwaukee Sentinel, he was a political reporter. Also in Milwaukee, he was the weekend anchor and political reporter for WISN TV. In Kenosha, he was a reporter for WAXO-FM. Also in Kenosha for WLIP-AM. In Denver, he was a news director for KQXI. Excuse me. In 1966, he became the press secretary for Republican Senator Gordon L. Allott from Colorado. In 1971, with Jack Wilson, he founded Analysis and Research Incorporated due to their frustration with public policy research. The company was not a success. It did not gain traction at all. In 1973, he convinced Joseph Coors to financially support the founding of the Heritage Foundation. He founded it with Edwin Feulner, although he met Coors through Wilson, because Wilson was an assistant to Coors at the time that they met. In 1974, he founded the Committee for the Survival of a Free Congress, CSFC. It was financially backed by Coors as well. And after the Cold War, it became active in Eastern European politics. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. His right-hand man for CSFC was Laszlo Pastor. And let's talk about him for a brief minute. He was a former member of the Arrow Cross Party, a pro Nazi party out of Hungary. And this party was known for collaborating with the Third Reich. And so was Laszlo. He served 2 years in prison for his activities associated with Arrow Cross. And within the United States, he was instrumental in establishing the ethnic outreach arm of the RNC. Now, the CSFC was one of the first grassroots organizations that raised money through direct mail campaigns. It's also among one of the first organizations to look into evangelical Christian churches regarding recruitment, activist cultivation, and support for conservative causes. Oops. In 1977, alongside of Reverend Robert Grant, he founded Christian Voice. Now, Robert G. Grant, born 1936, is a United States political activist. He has led several United States Christian rights groups, and he's considered the father of the United States Christian right. And they founded, whoops, and Christian Voice that they founded together is considered to be a United States conservative political advocacy group. Its headquarters was the Heritage Foundation, and the membership included 3,700 pastors from 45 different denominations. Excuse me. Christian Voice dissolved in 2012. From 1979 to 1989, he had the Moral Majority with Jerry Falwell. From the 1980s to the 2000s, he co-founded the Council for National Policy in 1981, which was a strategy formulating organization for social conservatives, and he was also the co-publisher of Conservative Digest, a magazine. He also he was also the national chair of the Coalitions for America, which was an association of conservative activist organizations. The CSFC was reorganized into the Free Congress Foundation, the FCF. Now, under the FCF, he founded National Empowerment Television, the NET, which then became America's Voice and then became the Renaissance Network. It was a TV network designed to rapidly mobilize conservatives for grassroots lobbying, and it favored blatant propaganda. Sound like some other TV networks that we know about? It was based in DC, and in 1997, it did relaunch as America's Voice, and that's when it became a for-profit channel. Now, Weyreich was forced out through a hostile takeover. According to Chip Burley of Political Research Associates, he was ousted because, and I quote, apparently for his divisive behavior in attacking GOP pragmatists. From 1989 to 1996, he was the president of the Kreibel Institute, which was the FCF unit that trained activists on how to support democracy movements and establish small businesses in the former Soviet Union and Eastern Europe. From 1988 to 1996, he published the New Electric Railway Journal, and that dissolved in 1998. 1998, I'm sorry. Now, this was a quarterly magazine that primarily discussed North American urban rail transit. His views: he abhorred political correctness. He called it cultural Marxism. He believed that it was a direct attack on, and I quote, our traditional Western Judeo-Christian culture. He also wanted Wiccans to be exempt from the free exercise clause of the First Amendment and wanted them barred from the military. He was believed to have been closely associated with Dominionism, which is a Christian political ideology that seeks the institution of a Christian government governed nationally and based on their understandings of biblical law. Most notably, this he was believed to have those uh, beliefs because this was due to his manifesto entitled The Integration of Theory and Practice, a program for the new traditionalist movement. It's a wild ride. He wanted the return of the House Un-American Activities Committee and the Senate Internal Subcommittee that was under the Senate Committee on the Judiciary. He wanted communists in the media to be identified and removed. Yeah. He believed that gay people were preoccupied with sex, and he also believed that medical professionals backed up his opinion. He also believed that life in the 1950s was the traditional life standard and how people should live. Yeah. And now we have Edwin Feulner, co-founder of the Heritage Foundation from 1977 to 2013, and then again from 2017 to 2018, he was the president. Regarding his education, he graduated from Immaculate Conception High School in Elmhurst, Illinois. In 1963, he graduated from Regis University with a BA in English. In 1964, he graduated from the Wharton School of Business with an MBA. He was a Richard M. Weaver Fellow at Georgetown University and the London School of Economics. In 1981, he graduated from the University of Edinburgh in Scotland with his PhD in political science. His doctoral thesis was entitled The Evolution of the Republican Study Committee. Now, the Republican Study Committee, the RSC, was founded in 1973 by Paul Weyreich to watch over the GOP leadership in the House. It is a congressional caucus of conservative GOP members. It pushes for no defense spending cuts, non-defense spending cuts, and socially conservative legislation, most notably the Second Amendment. As far as his career, he was an analyst at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. He was a congressional aide to Melvin Laird, a Republican out of Wisconsin. He was a long-serving executive assistant to Phil Crane, a Republican out of Illinois, the executive director for the Political Study Committee. In 2014, he was the president and treasurer of the Mont Pelerin Society. And that is a society that was created April of 1947 at a conference organized by Friedrich Hayek during the International Trade Organization meeting. It is a classical liberal international organization composed of economists, historians, intellectuals, and business leaders. It advocates for freedom of expression, free market, economic policies, political values of an open society, and the private sector taking over some functions of the federal government. He's also a chairman and trustee of the Intercollegiate Studies Institute. He was a board member of the National Chamber Foundation and a life trustee of Regis University. In 2021, he was the chair of the Victims of Communism Memorial Foundation. And that foundation was founded in 1933. It was authorized in 1933 through a unanimous act of Congress. It is a nonprofit anti-communism organization, and its purpose is, and I quote, educating Americans about the ideology, history, and legacy of communism. From 1982 to 1983, he was the president of the Philadelphia Society. Now, the Philadelphia Society was founded in 1964 by Donald Lipset in conjunction with William F. Buckley Jr., Milton Friedman, Frank Meyer, and Ed Feulner himself. Its members are people with libertarian or conservative political views. The members include clergy, professional leaders, business leaders, journalists, educators, and scholars. Their goal is, and I quote, deepening the intellectual foundations of a free and ordered society. He was also the president from 2013 to 2014. He has been the director of the Council for National Policy and the Acton Institute. The Acton Institute is the Acton Institute for the Study of Religion and Liberty. It was founded in 1990 by Chris Allen Morin and Robert A. Sirico. It is a United States think tank, and its mission is, and I quote, to promote a free market economic policy framed with Judeo-Christian morality. There seems to be a whole theme with the Heritage Foundation, huh? He was also a director of George Mason University. In 2005, he became a member of the Gingrich Mitchell Congressional UN Reform Task Force. From 1999 to 2000, he was a member of the Meltzer Commission, and the Meltzer Commission, formerly known as the International Financial Institution Advisory Commission, was established by Congress in 1998, the chair, Alan Meltzer, and it recommends United States policy towards the IMF, World Bank Group, and more. From 1995 to 1996, he was the vice chair of the Kemp Commission, which is a tax reform commission that recommended flat tax replace income tax. From 1982 to 1991, he was the chairman of the U.S. Advisory Commission on Public Diplomacy, and he was also a domestic policy advisor to President Reagan. Reagan keeps popping up all through this. Now, if you watch the first episode, you should be getting a better understanding why Reagan was like chomping at the bit to get his hand on their first mandate and implement so much of it. Now, regarding his work with the Heritage Foundation from 1973 to 1977, he was a founding trustee. As president, the foundation became more aggressive, more market-driven, and less ivory tower. He began publishing easily accessed and concise studies. He focused on marketing. In 2023, just this year, he retired from the foundation. Now, the third and final founding member of the Heritage Foundation is Joseph Coors Sr., November 12, 1917 to March 15, 2003. He is the grandson of Adolf Coors. Yes, Coors. As far as his education, he attended Cornell University in 1939. He graduated with a degree in chemical engineering. In 1940, he graduated with his master's. While at Cornell, he became a member of Kappa Alpha Society and Quill and Dagger Society. In regards to his career, he started at Coors Porcelain Company, which is now known as Coors Tech Incorporated. It was founded in 1910 in Golden, Colorado by Adolf Coors Sr. and John J. Harold. It is privately owned and manufactures technical ceramics for aerospace, automotive, chemical, electronics, medical, metallurgical, oil and gas, and semiconducting industries and products. While at Coors Porcelain Company with William Coors, his brothers, they refined the cold filtered beer manufacturing system. They also began the first large scale within the United States recycling program by offering 1 cent for returned Coors cans. From 1967 to 1972, he was a regent at University of Colorado, where he tried to quell what he thought to be radicalism during the Vietnam War on campus. From 1977 to 1985, he was the president of Coors, and from 1980 to 1988, he was the COO of Coors. Under his leadership, they expanded Coors distribution from 11 Western states to the entire country. That took place between the 1970s and the early 1990s. All that glitters isn't gold, because when it comes to the Heritage Foundation bros, There's going to be a Reagan and there's going to be some mess. So here's his mess. Well, the start of it. August of 1977, Brewers Workers Local 366 out of Golden, Colorado went on strike. Coors decided to replace the striking workers and continue operations. December 1978, new workers voted to decertify the union and end the strike. This led to a 10-year boycott from the AFL-CIO. August of 1986, the practice of lie detector testing on new employees ceased, and this was due to Coors being paranoid of somebody wanting to come in and already being a member of a union or wanting or having the desire to create another union. With friends like this, are you starting to see why Reagan had some of the views that he had? No wonder the Heritage Foundation cozied up to Trump. They needed another puppet president, like truly puppet president. But let's continue. In 1977, he set up the Mountain States Legal Foundation. Now, the Mountain States Legal Foundation, MSLF, was formed in 1977. It is a conservative, free market public interest law firm. It argues cases on property rights and federal land management in the West. He chose James G. Watt to head it at the time, and during the Reagan presidency, he privately donated $65,000 for the purchase of a private plane for the Contras. This donation went through then National Secretary Council Advisor Oliver Ollie North. Now, regarding his politics, said that he leaned very hard right. His brother jokingly said that he was akin to Attila the Hun in regards to his views. He supported Barry Goldwater and Ronald Reagan. He first met Reagan in 1967 in Palm Springs, California. He did help finance his political career. He also became a member of Reagan's kitchen cabinet. And for those that are not familiar, a kitchen cabinet is a group of unofficial or private advisors to a political leader. He was nominated by Reagan to the board of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. He was also involved in the founding of the Free Congress Research and Education Foundation, the Council for National Policy, the Television News Incorporated, TVN, the Heritage Foundation, where he gave $250,000 to cover the first year's worth of budget, and then $300,000 annually after the first year. See, he had a huge say. Now that you know what you know about the founders, what now do you think about just the surface history of the Heritage Foundation and its 8 mandates now? We'll discuss some key organizations next Thursday. As always, thank you for joining me, and each one teach one, each one reach one. Not next Thursday. I'll see you next Wednesday. My apologies. Next Wednesday.